Pete Finster on Wednesday the 26th of June, talking to Jonny Lang. Pleased to have you here, Jonny.
Thank
Great
you.
to have you. ForgetReadyToRock.com. We're here to talk about your brand new album. I've got to remember what it's called, Jonny. Tell everybody out there.
It's called Fight for My Soul.
Fight for My Soul. Is that an autobiographical kind of a statement?
A bit, yeah. It's named after the one of the tracks
on the album, yeah.
So, and that track is a bit autobiographical.
And the whole album, well, let me go back to a quote from way back. You once said that Motown, Michael Jackson and Smokey Robinson were influences in your youth.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear a lot of that on this album. Is this the kind of thing of going back in time and re-exploring your influences? Is that...
You know, it's funny. I think it may have just... Everybody's telling me this now after the album's been released for promotion. And I didn't hear that in it at all, and I wasn't,
really?
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that side of it. So I guess it just goes to show you, which is kind of a cool thing. I guess it's just sort of part of me from growing up, and maybe it just came out. So that's kind of neat.
But when you first came over here, of course, everybody knew you as a blues rock player, 16 years old. In fact, I did a show at Dingwalls with you. It was fantastic. And now, would you say that the music that you play now, more soulful, more R&B? As I said, possible Stevie Wonder influences there, Michael Jackson, Prince. Would you say that's part of your growing up and maturing?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been accused of maturing, but yes, I think, you know, I mean, definitely those artists are a big part of my life.
And yet, back in the States, you've been touring with Buddy Guy and doing the Jimi Hendrix thing, which is a million miles away from this in many respects.
Mm-hmm.
How have you then refocused your attention to this kind of music?
Well, it's kind of funny. I guess as a guitar player, my influences are more in the, you know, blues category.
Yeah.
And but as a songwriter, I found that the songs that come out are hardly in that category. So.
No, quite so. Yeah.
So it's I don't know. It's this.
It's just where you're at.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And who's the producer on this? Tommy Sims.
Yeah, Tommy Sims and I produced the
Now, did Tommy
together.
drag you over to this side of the fence, as it were? Was that some of his influence coming in there on the songs?
Well, I mean, certainly his influence is in there, but that was by design. I mean, I've been a huge Tommy fan ever since I heard his solo record, Peace and Love, and so. Ever since I was introduced to his music, I wanted to make a record with him, and so finally.
So when you came to the project, you had the songs pretty much all written, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And what was his input after that when you actually went in the studio?
Well, I had a lot of the songs either, you know, nearly done or just kind of sort of half incompleted. So. Tommy helped me finish a lot of the songs, and he brought a couple songs as well. So, yeah, it's just, but they're all original songs. Yeah.
Oh, for sure, and they're killer. They're very gospel influenced.
Well,
Is that kind of direction you're happy with and want to pursue?
Sure. I mean, I had no preconception of which direction it had, other than what the songs themselves dictated.
It's kind of organic.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and they breathe a lot. But you've actually pushed yourself on this album vocally. Was that partly, I mean, you sing with gospel singers essentially, was that part of the reason for that? Did they inspire you to go that extra yard or extra mile?
Yeah, I think vocally, I mean, ever since I was young, people like Michael Jackson and, as you mentioned before, Stevie Wonder, and but yeah, I've gotten into a ton of gospel singers over the last, 5 to 10 years, and so all of that is, getting in there somehow, I think.
Absolutely, and it's all part and parcel of the arrangements. It's been 7 years since your last album. Was that all that time? Was that a luxury you probably wouldn't have had if you were still on a big label?
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
And you feel good about that?
Yeah, they would have shuffled me off, long before that time came, but fortunately, it all worked out okay.
Yeah. And were you kind of writing all that time, or as and when? Because you did a lot of touring in between, didn't you? You never stopped working, in fact.
Yeah, I did.
I mean, I know you're bringing up kids and stuff, but you're still out there on the road too.
Yeah, still on the road, and
wow.
And then trying to get back home to family
when you could.
When I could.
Yeah. And one of the notable things about your performances, apart from the great guitar playing, is that you really kind of put in an emotional performance. Do you find that's difficult to do night after night? How do you manage to?
No, I mean, I think that for me that's the easiest part.
Okay.
Is to just let go and be sort of emotionally led, or however you want to look at it, spiritually led.
Yeah. And there's very much a lot of that on this album. But there's also some very, we'll come to the album in a minute, but there's some commercial radio things on there. The first 3 tracks, any of those could be on daytime radio. Was that a...
Great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No,
I mean, I haven't heard anybody really say it like that. That makes me happy.
Well,
I would like that very much. Please play the record.
Well, Blew Up, for example, is an obvious radio-friendly track. Big departure from what you've done before, but then I guess what was the album you did in 2003? That was a kind of change of direction then, anyway.
Probably a long time coming.
Yeah, long time coming. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
was that when you matured as an artist, as a songwriter? Had the self-confidence to go in a slightly different direction from what you expected?
Yeah, I think there were just, I started writing and having this sort of need to have a bit of that expressed on a record, but then also the other side of being a little bit afraid that some people are going to be upset, because you didn't have their quota of blues in there, so...
Yeah, does that... In fact, thinking about that, do you think it's the case that you're going to have to drag some of your longer existing fans over to this new stuff, do you think?
Well, I mean, I certainly...
We don't worry about that too much.
I try not to worry about that, but I can't honestly say that I don't sometimes.
Yeah.
But I hope, I'd like it if everybody on earth liked this album, but I know that not everybody's going to like everything, so...
But this is more focused than Long Time Coming, for example. That was a musically diverse album.
Yeah, I think so.
And this is a much stronger, focused album. Was it a problem when you had the 7 years, we didn't have the 7 years off, but you weren't recording? Was it a problem to actually maintain your focus on this album and the direction? Because you're doing a bit of writing here and a bit of recording there. It wasn't like you did it all in one block.
Right.
Is that a problem?
A bit of a logistical nightmare.
Or did Tommy kind of oversee the direction of the whole thing?
Yeah, I think both Tommy and I did, and thank goodness for Tommy being there, because we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it right now. So, but because I am not the, I didn't have my first clue some of the things you had to do to make an album by yourself. So.
Oh really?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've only wielded the creative portion of the duties. So.
Yeah.
So taking on the other things was challenging. So.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And thinking about some of the other stuff, we'll come to the album. You did a great version of "Dying to Live" by Edgar Winter a while back. Where did you come across that?
That was a song that at the time I was on A&M Interscope.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Iovine, the head of Interscope, he said, "You gotta hear this song. This reminds me of you. And I think you should do this." So
yeah.
So so we recorded, and actually Edgar Winter came to the studio while we were mixing it.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wow,
he had heard that we were doing it and wanted to hear it, so that was really cool. Got to meet him.
And you liked it, presumably?
He at least said that he did in front of me. He was very polite. So.
Yeah, I know. I think he's a pretty genuine guy. But I think, how much of the new material will be part of your live set, do you think?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
I would think you know, most of, if not all of the material would be in the live show, but I'd like to do a lot of different things in the live show, so we'll see.
Yeah, and who are you taking out on the road with you?
It's the same band that's on the album, and the same band that's been with me now for years. So.
Wow. Well, going to the album, I already mentioned Blew It Up, which I think is a great radio song, and Breaking In is another one which is kind of, almost got some kind of Curtis Mayfield feel to it. Did you see that?
I haven't thought of that, but now that you mention it, I could see.
And several tracks you slip into falsetto. I mean, that's, you know, was the track written like that with that in mind, or was that just something that you thought I could take it there? And
well, it's you get stuck. Some of those are just because out of necessity, because I can't sing that high unless I sing in falsetto.
Yeah.
So, but you know, sometimes it was. I never attacked the song going, I have to create a falsetto moment here.
No. But there's several on the album though. So
there are.
Yeah. And We Are the Same. That's got a kind of Ball of Confusion feel to it. The Temptations.
Oh wow!
You know, that kind of stuttering rhythm. I mean, that's
great.
That's a real good production job as well.
It's fun to hear you talk about it because I've never thought of it in those terms. So it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you agree. And best track for me is What You're Looking For. Now, is that a kind of statement of faith on that album? On that track?
Sure, a bit. I mean, I think it's, you know, it's a song about, you know, obviously the chorus says what the song is ultimately about. Yeah. But it's about just perspective, you know. You can choose to look at things negatively or positively or however you would like to look at the situations.
For sure, yeah. And Not Right sounds a bit like Prince.
Sure, yeah.
He's another influence. I think we already mentioned that, but
yeah, big time. I love Prince.
Is there still a big market for this stuff in the States then? Because I mean, when you come over to Europe, gospel, well, obviously blues and soul, there definitely is. But is it hard to get it on the radio in the States or to?
Yeah, I mean that. You know, I'm not sure. I'm the wrong person to ask if this stuff is worthy of radio in the U.S. But we had hoped that maybe there's a couple that would be okay for it, so we'll see. And
there's a big ballad on the record called The Truth. Is that based on kind of personal experience and stuff?
It's well, you know, as it's taken literally, it's a fiction, but it's, you know, it's kind of a metaphor for just I think we've all been through something that we wish we wouldn't have ever known.
That's for sure.
And so it's basically.
And there's a track on there called River, which it's got a kind of a Motown feel to it. Lovely production again.
Oh, thank you.
Was that all thought about? Well, obviously it was thought about, but it's a really well shaped song and it stands out again. Not my favourite, but in terms of production, I think it's fantastic.
Thank you very much, man. I mean, we did. No, it's great. I'm happy to hear all these positive things you're saying. It's great.
All of a sudden, you got the line, "My home is on the highway and my family is on the stage." Is that kind of true?
Yeah, it is true.
And you work that line into the song, which is a kind of cool thing to do.
Yeah, you know, it's just trying to explain in that moment how much, you know, meeting her, you know, really meant. And so.
Yeah. I want to go back to We Are the Same because there's a great guitar solo on there, but right at the beginning of the solo you got a real distorted tone.
Which song?
We Are the Same. Right at the beginning of the guitar solo, it's kind of got this real cool distorted tone. Was that something you worked on, or what was the idea behind that?
Well, it's the tone mixed with them playing these two notes, I think, that are just dissonant. They don't agree, and so it gives it more of a distortion effect.
Yeah.
So.
And that was another good one. And in between recording this album, we mentioned it earlier on, you've been doing the Hendrix tour, and there's a parallel with you and Hendrix, which is that, you know, you a bit like he used to do, you get lost in the moment when you're playing guitar. Everybody recognises that. When you really get into the moment, you're on another planet, which is great. But it's a long, long way away from what this album's about. So I'm wondering, how do you come off a tour like, some dates doing the Hendrix thing, to then recording chunks of this? That must have been difficult.
Man, I mean, it really, it wasn't. I've grown. I'm kind of used to being, you know, a guitar player, singer, and separately a guitar player and a singer and a songwriter. So, no, I mean these songs were pretty easily
put together.
Pretty easy to come by.
Yeah.
I guess, really.
In terms of writing them or laying them down.
Both.
Yeah.
Both, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, the album's got a great flow to it. It doesn't sound like you had a problem anyway. So thinking about when you, all those years ago, when you were touring with the Stones and Aerosmith and all these people, do you feel like a different person now? Being obviously you do because you're, I don't know, 15 years old or whatever, but I'm talking about musically.
I do. I feel different. I feel like I look at the world kind of differently after having children, and things are a bit more prioritized now, and maybe a bit more serious about life.
Yeah.
Take life a little bit more seriously. And so I think it shows in the.
And that being the case, that is probably one of the reasons why the songs are so deep.
I think it definitely affected the tone of the.
And how long's the current band been with you?
Some members longer than others, but I mean years.
And how did you all come together? Because it all fits so well.
Well, these guys, I mean, I just get along musically with them in a way that's almost miraculous. It's like couldn't hope for better musicians, and also people to just be with. They're great. We all get along really well, and
yeah,
it really is an honor to be able to play music with these guys. It's amazing.
And let me ask you something about your influences. I mean, obviously when you were the kind of young blues rocker, it was fairly self-evident. But when you're busy touring all the time and everything else, do you ever get to hear anything else, or any other artists? I guess you must see some other artists.
Yeah, from time to time, you know, there's somebody that we all love, or a few of us love, and we'll go out to see them. And
anybody in particular?
I'm trying to think. I think not too long ago we saw Sam Bush.
Oh, right.
If you know who he is.
Yeah, he's not well known over here, but
yeah. And oh man, who else have we seen lately? I can't even remember. It's a bit of a blur.
Yeah. You still do Stevie Wonder's Living in the City as part of your live set?
Yeah. We haven't done a show in a few months, but
oh really?
Just because of the record and everything. But yeah, it's a song that we do pretty frequently.
And of course, going back in time again, you were one of the first blues rockers to be exposed on video, as it were.
Exposed.
You know, yeah, exposed. Yeah. But anyway, you brought a niche music into the mainstream. That's what I'm really saying. And are you happy working with a medium like that and DVDs and stuff?
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. I think now, you know, where before the digital thing really just scooped up the entertainment industry.
I was going to say the whole thing's changed.
Yeah, the whole thing's changed. So any form of content is really just bleeds into the next form of content, I think, these days. So.
And of course, for people ask me to ask you about the Blues Brothers film that you're on. How was that for you?
It was really fun to do,
yeah?
And you know, I can't stomach to watch it, my part in it, but.
Why is that?
Well, you try it.
Oh, no. It was a blast of a film, but it was a document of the time, because it was when kind of blues came up again, early 90s, I guess it was, whenever it was, and somebody have to help me out on the date, but you know, it was when kind of blues. I mean, to have blues on a mainstream Hollywood film would have been unbelievable a few years before that.
Sure, yeah.
But you must have been aware of the fact that you were the new icon at the time, and therefore you were on the film, which is
Well, I got to be on there with a lot of other greats, of course.
Yeah.
So it was. I was scared. I mean, I'm going to be on a movie, and there's all these people there. There's Wilson Pickett, and you know, it was pretty intimidating.
And how about touring with the Stones? What was that like?
It was one of the most memorable times in my life, being able to go on the road with those guys and sort of get to know them, and play music with them, and
You hang out with them?
yeah, from time to time, and just they treated us so well, just very kind, and it was just thrilling. It was really thrilling for me.
Well, Johnny, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. It's been Pete Fiends for GetReadyToRock.com. The album's called, I can't remember it, Fight for My Soul. That's exactly what Johnny's going to do. When are you playing in London?
We're playing at the Borderline in October sometime. I can't recall which date exactly.
Okay, it'll be on your website, I guess. And you're also doing some dates in Europe, right?
Correct, yep.
Any idea what those are?
We're going to be in Germany, Italy, I think France, here in the UK, at the Borderline, to name a few. So.
Okay, it's been MHP on the cameras over there, Swifty on the video over there. It's been Pete Fiends for GetReadyToRock.com. Good morning.